this Yankee 2023 disaster just gets worse. So, last few weeks, there were things that were getting better and the future was looking brighter. But this series puts a damper on a lot of that. So, Yankees lose the series. They lose 2 out of 3. They lose the first 2 games in very similar style, only to win the last game in 13 innings, like a weird, crazy game where the Yankees were being no-hit with 1 out in the 10th inning. They were being no-hit. It was a scoreless game, and eventually they win. Now, I am certainly back rooting for them to lose, especially with this news. Jasson Domínguez, it is announced that he tore his UCL, I believe in his right arm, I believe it is. And so he will be getting surgery, and Tommy John surgery, and he will be out probably going into early next season, right? I mean, that's going to be an injury that is going to sideline him, maybe not that long into next season, right? But to me, like best case scenario, he's somehow back by opening day, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think you're looking at an absence that might put him out through April and May. Again, it's not even worth really getting into, but the point is that Domínguez is done for the season, and he's headed for surgery, and that is just terrible news. And he homered again on Friday. Like, he was a reason why you would tune in to watch this club for the last, now the last 3 weeks of the season. But, his season is over. He was a late scratch Sunday. I think it came out that he was starting to feel this pain, I guess, last Sunday, and then first brought it up Wednesday, and it just never got better. And I think they said that it was right elbow inflammation was the reason why he was out. And then after the game, they announced that it's a torn UCL. So that's one thing. Another thing, that's sad, it's kind of opposite end of the spectrum, right? Because Domínguez is beginning his Yankee career. Luis Severino's on the other end. And Luis Severino, it's been a disaster season. And quite frankly, since he signed that extension, it's pretty much been a disaster the last 4 years. Except I guess last year was mostly successful, even though he was out for a few months last year. But Severino, a fairly significant oblique strain, left side, and so that will put him out for the rest of the season as well. So like both those things are downers. Domínguez more so, of course, but Severino, that needs to still, I think, be grouped in. In reviewing this series, I was thinking. I think both deserve its attention, because again, I think that might have been Severino's last time pitching as a Yankee, and for him to go out that way is almost very fitting, sadly. And yeah, for Domínguez, just that's a shocker. I mean, for that to, coming into today, I'm thinking, all right, Domínguez is in the lineup, batting third, and we leave the day, and he is out for the season and going to be out, probably going into early next season as well, with Tommy John surgery. The recuperation is not as long for hitters as it is for pitchers when it comes to Tommy John, but still very sad. And this season has been an absolute disaster, and the Yankees are under 500. I wish they had lost today. The one good thing, though, is Garrett Cole. I do want him to win the Cy Young, and he is further bolstering his resume. Another really good outing. Corbin Burns had a no-hitter through 8 innings. And, if the Brewers had a lead going to the 9th, I think he would have started the 9th, possibly. I guess that's up for debate because the Brewers are, in the NL Central Division race with the Chicago Cubs. But, this is definitely, especially for me, someone who really wasn't rooting for the Yankees to win today, this is a complete negative, bad episode. And we've had some bad ones, but this is up there for sure. And yeah, look, it's going to make rooting against them a lot easier of a decision. And again, what I root for doesn't really matter all that much. But yeah, they kind of, like I predicted could happen, where you think it's fully over, and they kind of suck you in a little bit. Got sucked in a little bit. After that Astros sweep, I got to admit, that did suck me into the point where I knew it was a total long shot and that it wasn't going to happen. But all right, fuck it. You know what? They got more likable players now. Let's just see what happens. And, by the end of that Carlos Rodon shits the bed. And then from there, this Brewers series was very ugly. And they somehow, some way won this last game as Kyle Higashioka hits a walk-off double in the 13th inning. As far as housekeeping, a good amount of that, and I think it's mostly shuffling between relievers. So let me try to think of this because a lot happened. Um, trying to think. Right. Okay. Wait a minute. So it's all. There was so many different things. Let me look this up because it actually may not be as much as I think. But let's see here. I want to see heading into Friday. So yeah, Crook, that had already happened. Crook for Middleton had already happened. Right. So Friday, Albert Abreu gets placed in the IL with a right hamstring strain, and Nick Ramirez gets called up. Nick Ramirez actually pitched 2 innings today in extra innings. So Ramirez back up, Abreu on the IL. So Abreu finally off the active roster, but still a part of the team, of course, because they have no intentions of DFAing him. Then, after Severino goes in the IL after his oblique injury Friday night, Ron Marinaccio comes up, only for him to then be sent down with Matt Crook after they both struggled in Game 2, and Matt Bowman and Anthony Mishevitz, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, are recalled. And in the case of Mishevitz, he wins. He is the winning pitcher in Game 3. So good for him. You know, he had pitched earlier this season on on Arizona and Detroit. I think we would know him mostly from his time with the Mariners. And for Bowman, yeah, he's another journeyman. I think he was on the Cardinals at one point, and maybe the Reds. I don't think he had pitched in the majors since 2019, whereas Mishevitz has been, obviously, like I said, pitched this year. So, some more reliever shuffling than anything, with Severino going on the aisle in that mix. And what that'll probably mean is Johnny Brito or Randy Vasquez will take that spot in the rotation. So, first game is between Colin Ray, the righty for the Brewers, and for the Yankees, Luis Severino. And Sevy looked pretty, I gotta say, he did look pretty good. That's the thing. It was a horrific season. He did, like, the last month or so, wasn't terrible. What it means as far as his future with the Yankees, I have no idea. In fact, I think, I think he's probably thrown his last pitch as a Yankee if I had to guess. But I guess anything's possible. So, this is scoreless for a while. Well, maybe not for a while, but a good amount. And we head to the third. Gotta say, Sal Frelick, wow. He made a great catch in the second inning in this game off of Jake Bauers. Off the bat of Jake Bauers. Then he makes an unbelievable game-saving, no-hit-saving catch in right field where he banged into Joey Wiemer. We'll talk about that. We'll probably discuss Game 3 more than anything. Well, I'm going to try to breeze through these first two. As far as the Yankee lineup goes, so Austin Wells ends up starting 2 games, and then Rortvedt catches Cole. So Higgy, who did get the walk-off hit in Game 3 as he came in relief, after Rortvedt had been pinch hit for with Bauers. Wells did play the first 2 games, and that was somewhat significant because the second game was a day game after night game, and they had the lefty on the mound in Wade Miley. Now, Austin Wells, look, he has struggled at the plate, but, look, he is going to be one of the highest attractions now that Domínguez is gone. Wells is going to be one of the higher ones for the rest of the season. But yeah, the lineup here, no Giancarlo Stanton in this lineup. No Everson Pereira in this lineup. Trying to think if there was anything else of significance as far as guys that were out. Those are the only ones that are really coming to mind. So, in the bottom of the third, the Yankees take the lead. A 1-out single by Aaron Judge, and then Jasson Domínguez does it again, his 4th homer. And at that point, that had been 4 homers in 7 games, which is pretty remarkable. It ends up going, now that his season is over, it'll be 4 homers in 8 games, which is just amazing. But that makes it 2-0 Yanks, and those Judge and Domínguez hits, the Yankees would only have 1 more hit on the night. That was how it went. In the 4th, the Brewers tied up. You get a 2-run homer, opposite field, Willy Adames, the former Ray. So the Yankees are familiar with him. He hits his 24th homer of the year. It's off of Sevy, and it makes it 2-2. Then in the 5th, on a Bryce Terang single, Sevy is in pain. Sevy drops his glove, and he said it felt like he got shot. It was like a knifing sort of feeling, apparently. And yeah, left side, really, high grade oblique strain for Severino, and so his season is over. And he walks off the field. And again, it's sadly fitting because injuries were such that's really what held him back. This was the first year where he really kind of struggled beyond the injuries, but the score is 2-2. Johnny Brito comes on, does a pretty nice job, gets out of that inning. Then, Colin Ray's taken out in the 5th by the Brewers. Then in the 6th inning, a scoreless inning from Brito, getting out of trouble. Bottom of the 6th for the Yanks, they get an opportunity but don't strike, and so the score remains 2-2. Then in the 7th, a leadoff double against Andrew Monasterio, which is a problem because he was the number 9 hitter, and it did end up costing the Yanks. Christian Yelich grounds out against Brito. I would have considered pitching around him since Loáisiga was going to come in and is a heavy double play guy. They don't go that route. I would have. And Jonathan Loáisiga comes in, and Loáisiga, that is a storyline in terms of the series. He struggled. And with Loáisiga, sometimes it is bad luck. You wish he had more strikeout stuff, but at the same time, it's hard to talk negatively on him because the lack of walks. He might have honestly maybe one. It's very few in terms of the walks. So the control is good, the ground ball stuff is good, but yeah, Loáisiga in games 1 and 2 really was a pretty big reason that that the game got away from the Yanks. So what happens is William Contreras gets an RBI single, makes it 3-2, so that run goes against Brito. But then Contreras steals second. And then you get an RBI single by Carlos Santana. He advances to second on a throwing error by Jake Bauers. So the fielding wasn't quite great in this one. I think Volpe kind of had some struggles where I don't know. Yeah, there was no error against Volpe here, but just wasn't quite gloving it. And, again, it wasn't awful, but just a bunch of little things. And then eventually with 2 out, you get an RBI double by Willy Adames. So 5-2 Brewers, a couple of runs go against Loáisiga there. And then Trevor Megill comes on for the Brewers, pitches a 1-2-3 7th. Greg Weissert comes on, and even though he pitched well against the Tigers in Game 2, he had that big strikeout. Here he struggles, and that, Greg Weissert, again, this has not been someone that has really had a whole lot of Major League success. What happens here is you get a 2-run double by Andrew Monasterio, and then eventually an RBI single by Carlos Santana, but Weissert definitely roughed up for 5 hits in the 1 inning and 3 runs allowed. Bottom of the 8th, Bryce Wilson comes on to a low-leverage situation. The score was already 8-2 at that point. Tommy Kahnle comes in a mop-up spot because they really didn't have anyone available. And then in the 9th, the Yankees go down 1-2-3. They lose the game 8-2. So a big win for Milwaukee. The Yankees, at that point, go under 500 and would remain under 500 through the end of the series. Let's jump to Game 2. Now, Game 2, you had the Yankees honoring the 1998 amazing 125-win team. That was cool to see. Jeter coming back for his first Old-Timers Day was nice. So that was probably the highlight of the game. The game did start out in a rain, so they got that in, no rain, but then the actual game itself, probably about a 2.5 hour or so rain delay, I think. It was a long one, but they started, somehow the Yankees, they got all these games in this weekend. The pitching matchup here, Wade Miley, the lefty, who pitched okay but didn't go deep into the game, kind of similar to Colin Ray the night before. And then Michael King, a bright spot. Michael King goes 5 innings, only allows 4 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned, 1 walk, and 9 strikeouts. So Michael King, you got to be excited about the prospect of him being in the rotation next year. That could be a really good thing. And King's ERA is at 2.82. Of course, the combination of that being out of the bullpen and the starting rotation, but the Yankee offense was completely flummoxed. Again, only 3 hits the first game, and then only 4 in Game 2. And then, quite frankly, they only had 3 in Game 3. And that was in 13 innings. So the Yankee offense, they were lucky to come out of the series with the win. The offense did absolutely nothing. And, you look at it, and yeah, a lot of the Yankees' the big boys were basically held down. The Judges, the Torreses, the LeMahieu, Stanton until the very end really did much of nothing in this series. So, again, similar. I view the first 2 games as very similar. So, Game 2, the scoring starts up in the top of the 4th, where you get an RBI triple by Willy Adames, and then he actually scores on a DJ LeMahieu throwing error. So a Little League home run, in essence, where Giancarlo Stanton, he did not play this ball well in right field. So first off, this should not have been a triple, but with Stanton, it was. So that's the one bad thing. And then LeMahieu with a not great throw. Could Peraza maybe have made the play at third? I suppose, but not so sure on that. So, yeah, Adames ends up with a Little League homer, basically. Makes it 2-0 Brewers, but the Yankees do come back in the next inning. It was actually kind of similar, but in reverse to Game 1. where the Yankees take a 2-0 lead. Brewers tied up 2-2 in game one, vice versa in game two. A one-out walk for Glaber, then Stanton reaches on an error by the third baseman Monasterio, and then you get an RBI single by Anthony Volpe, makes it 2-1. Eventually, with the bases loaded, they get lucky as the Yankees score a run where Adames with kind of a soft throw to second, so Pereira, who should have been sliding, is in safely. Peraza was the batter. He hits into the fielder's choice, and Stanton scores. So that makes it 2-2. And then Elvis Peguero, the righty, comes in and gets LeMahieu to ground out with the bases loaded. King goes the 5 innings. Then in the 6th, Greg Weissert does do well here. Pitches a 1-2-3 inning. Then in the 7th, Wandy Peralta pitches a scoreless 7th inning. And then in the 8th inning, it's Jonathan Loáisiga. Loáisiga again falters, and it's Tyrone Taylor hitting a leadoff homer. Then eventually, it's single. A lot of bloop singles, too. And Mark Canha gets an RBI single, makes it 4-2. Then a sac fly by Caratini with 1 out. And so it's a 3-run inning for the Brewers. 5-2 Brewers, and, again, a couple of rough nights for Loáisiga. And now we head to the bottom of the 8th. Yankees go down 1-2-3. In the 9th, Matt Crook, who has some pretty crooked, no pun intended, numbers in the majors. And here, he leadoff walk to Rang, which doesn't help. And eventually you get there's another walk mixed in there, some steals. And so you get a 2-run single with the bases loaded for William Contreras, makes it 7-2. Then Ron Marinaccio comes on, and there's a couple of bases loaded walks. The problem with Marinaccio is the command is just not there. There's no control. He is walking, and that was a problem in AAA. So the stuff is there for Marinaccio. He just needs to harness it. And so that was an unfortunate. Marinaccio's 2023 season is a major disappointment considering what he did last year. So 9-2 Brewers ends up being the score, and that is your final. The Yankees get a couple of hits in the 9th inning, but they really did nothing offensively at all. And so the Yankees lose this one 9-2. So the Yankees lose the series at this point. Snaps they had a 3-series win streak, 2 versus the Tigers, and then with the Astros, 1 in between. But that streak comes to an end. We head to Game 3. Game 3, an amazing pitcher's duel between Corbin Burnes and Garrett Cole, and it lived up to it. And the Yankees were, again, no hit into the 10th inning with 1 out in the 10th. And I got to be honest with you, I wanted them to be no hit. I want as much negative publicity against this team, and they avoided it. Not only did they not get no hit, they actually won the game. So, talk about what could have been a pure disaster scenario with the Domínguez news and really the potential of them getting no hit in extra innings. Just incredible. Wait a minute. What am I saying? I keep on saying 9 in the third. Have I been saying 9 in the third? What am I talking about? Hold on. Yeah, what am I even saying? Yeah, 10 in the third. I think I was misspeaking. They were no hit into the 11th inning. Just insanity. But they're able to get out of that. That would have been pure embarrassment. But they end up getting the job done. So Garrett Cole is and continues to be a bright spot for this team. As far as the lineup was concerned, in this one, Domínguez was that late scratch. Connor Falefa was in the original lineup anyway. So Connor Falefa, and look, he's now going to probably see a good amount of center field time. For me, that reminds me, you may as well give Estevan Florial a shot at this point. I think it makes sense. He's not on the 40-man roster currently, but I think that they should have, done something here to, just, again, with Domínguez out, it makes sense, but we'll see. Clearly, they're not high on him. Like, that we know. And honestly, him doing well here, I think that even a strong finish doesn't really mean much for Florial's future as a Yankee. Anyway, Rortvedt catches Cole. That's a theme, and will probably continue, although they did say they do want to get Austin Wells, maybe a start or two with Cole, so maybe that'll happen at the very end. We'll see. But his ERA drops to 2.79. He is, unequivocally, the leader in the clubhouse for that Cy Young. I'm not going to say it's over, right? He still probably has about 3-4 more starts to go, but it's looking pretty good. So, yeah, this was, no scoring, no hits. For a long, long time. We go to the 8th. Wandy Peralta comes on, pitches a scoreless 8th inning. Then, Corbin Burnes ends up being at 100 and, whatchamacallit? Burnes ends up being at 109 pitches through 8. And I will never know, but if they had the lead going to the ninth, you wonder if they would have brought him back out there again. Like, they are in a tight, important, like, there's future for the Brewers this season. So maybe Devin Williams would have come in regardless. We'll never know. But in the ninth, Clay Holmes comes on and pitches a 1-2-3 inning. Devin Williams pitches the ninth and goes 1-2-3. In the 10th, Tommy Kahnle does the job and gives up no runs. But then Abner Uribe does well for the Brewers, but that was the inning where Anthony Volpe is robbed by Sal Frelick. Unbelievable play. And I've seen, this guy is like a highlight reel machine, I think. I think this is not the first time. And Joey Wiemer, they collided, and Wiemer ended up bleeding. Crazy play. And what could have been, that's a play that if they ended up getting that no-hitter, would have been shown all over the place, but it gets lost now. It just does. So we go to the 11th. Nick Ramirez comes on, and he does give up a run. Tyrone Taylor gets an RBI single, but the Yankees, not only do they tie it up, but the no-hitter is broken. Pereira grounds out, Volpe moves over to third, so Joel Payamps is in the game, and he's had a really good season for them, but Oswaldo Cabrera, with 1 out in the 11th, breaks up the no-hitter and the shutout, and the game is tied. It's an RBI double for Oswaldo. The Council does something bold, but it ends up working out. He intentionally walks Judge with first and second 2 out to set up bases loaded for Glaber, and Glaber grounds out. So we head to the 12th inning. Nick Ramirez still is on and gives up a couple of runs. Joey Wiemer RBI double to start it out. Then eventually Monasterio gets a sac fly. So it's 3-1. So you're thinking, okay, Yankees might lose this game. But Andrew Chafin has been really bad as a Brewer. And quite frankly, was really bad in his last sort of days and weeks with the Diamondbacks. Giancarlo Stanton, it's a game-tying 2-run homer. I wasn't hoping for it, but it happened. And Stanton, his ERA, I think it's still under 200. No, sorry, it's 200 flat. So Stanton gets that homer and he reaches the 200 mark. It's still bad, but Stanton hits the 2-run shot. Dead, a little shot, right center. And that ties the game up. His 23rd homer of the year, 3-3. And then, Chafin gets out of it from there. Then Anthony Misiewicz, again, I want to get that pronounced correctly. I think it's close to that. Makes his Yankee debut, and he gets the win as well, as he allows no runs, and it sets the stage. Hobie Milner, the lefty, comes on for the Brewers, and Oswaldo Cabrera strikes out to start the inning, but then Kyle Higashioka, in what really might be one of his last moments as a Yankee. I think that the writing is kind of on the wall for Higgy in terms of next year, and I feel like, I don't know, is there a world where he can be back? Sure, it's always possible, but this is Higgy's first walk-off hit. And that I'm sure that meant a lot to him. He's been a Yankee for a long time now. And for him to get his first walk-off hit and to be mobbed like that, it's an RBI double. It scores Pereira, and the Yankees win it 4-3. They salvage the series. They avoid the sweep, and they're 71-72. So now they will head to Boston for 4 and then go to Pittsburgh for 3. So I want to see if there's any pitching matchups announced yet. I feel like this is going to be lacking. No, it might not be. Game 1, Clark Schmidt versus Cutter Crawford. Game 2 is going to be Carlos Rodon versus Nick Pivetta. Game 3 is TBD for the Yanks, and that's because of Sevy. So figure probably Brito Vasquez versus Tanner Houck. And then Game 4 is Michael King, and then the Red Sox have not listed their starter for that one. So Garrett Cole, in terms of his Cy Young, he avoids Fenway Park, which has just been a house of horrors for Garrett Cole. But look, I got to say, and I know there's some fans that might be thinking exactly the opposite, but I hope the Red Sox win these games. I want the Yankees to finish in last place. I want them to finish below 500. To me, there's no moral victories here. Finishing in 4th, finishing above 500, and I know, like Michael K, I'm pretty sure he'll be rooted. I'm using him as an example because I can just tell, and I know that he's the announcer of the team, so he's got to skew positive. But I can tell that he is someone that I think would prefer than finish above 500. I think it's better for that streak to come to an end. I think So we'll see what happens here. Again, getting into all that isn't, I want to avoid it to an extent, but I just got to be honest that as much as I hate the Red Sox, they have dug themselves. Look, it'd be one thing, the one time that the rest of the year where I might root for the Yankees against the Blue Jays, those 6 games versus the Blue Jays, that is the time when there is a definite chance I'll root for the Yanks. But the Red Sox, I know they just won today. Let me see. I think they're pretty well out of the playoffs at this point. Let me see, just to confirm. They basically are. They're 6 out and have to hop a team to even get to that point. So I don't know. I guess they're not fully. I guess they're not fully out of it, but they're in a bit of trouble. The point is this: I'll trust that even if the Red Sox do other series, that they won't make it. But yeah, so we'll see what happens in Fenway. And here's the other narrative as well: the Yankees are 1-8 versus the Sox this season. If they fuck up and let's say go a 1-3, and now you're 2-11, that is even further embarrassing. So again, Yankees lose the series 2 out of 3 to the Milwaukee Brewers. They're below 500. They're 1 game under. But the bigger news, on a lesser extent, Luis Severino, in very disappointing fashion, his season is over, and potentially his Yankee career is over. And Jasson Domínguez has a torn UCL, Tommy John surgery incoming. And like I've said before, this 2023 Yankee season cannot end soon enough. The Yankees head to Boston to take on the Red Sox for a 4-game set.